Black fire ant versus giant spider in the silent depths of the forest floor. Where shadows hung low and danger lurked in every corner, the black fire ant emerged from the soil, its small frame burning with unseen strength. Every step the black fire ant took seemed to echo a promise that even the smallest can rise to face the largest. Nearby, in the dark corner of a ruined tree, the giant spider stirred within its web, its 8 legs stretching out like blades of shadow, its fangs dripping venom, its hunger restless. The stage was set for a battle between fire and shadow. The black fire ant carried with it the power of discipline, for ants are never truly alone. Behind one black fire ant exists the spirit of thousands, an army bound by unity and survival. But this day was different. The black fire ant had wandered too far, stepping into the lair of something far greater. The giant spider had been waiting, weaving its trap with patience that could outlast the turning of days, each silk thread strong enough to bind prey much larger than the small warrior. Yet, in the eyes of the black fire ant, there was no fear, only focus. The air grew heavy as the black fire ant approached. The forest seemed to hold its breath, as though even the trees and the birds understood the weight of what was about to happen. The giant spider shifted in its web, the threads quivering, its body looming with silent menace. The black fire ant stood firm, its mandibles open, ready to strike. It was not a meeting of equals in size, but it was a meeting of equals in determination. When the giant spider moved, it was like the snap of lightning across a dark sky. Its legs struck forward, fast as wind, its fangs snapping open to pierce the ant. But the black fire ant responded with a speed born of instinct and survival, darting aside, its small body weaving through the threads of danger. The clash had begun, and neither creature was willing to retreat. The black fire ant struck first, its mandibles snapping against one of the spider's long legs. The sound of chitin cracking echoed through the clearing, and the giant spider hissed, pulling back in fury. But the black fire ant did not stop. It bit again, harder, deeper, proving that size does not decide courage. The giant spider slammed its leg into the ground, trying to crush the intruder. But the ant was quicker, rolling away and returning with even greater fury. The giant spider retaliated with venom, its fangs dripping poison that hissed as it struck the soil, burning the ground itself. One bite could end the black fire ant instantly. But the small warrior danced just beyond reach, circling, striking, but pulling back. The giant spider grew impatient, its legendary patience crumbling under the relentless persistence of an enemy so small. And in that impatience, weakness began to show. The black fire ant leapt forward, climbing the spider's leg, its mandibles tearing into the soft joints where armor gave way. The giant spider thrashed violently, slamming its body against the ground, shaking its web to pieces. But the ant clung tightly, refusing to release. With every bite, the black fire ant sent pain through the predator's frame. And for the first time, the hunter felt hunted. The battle dragged on, a storm of movement and fury. The giant spider lunged again and again. But each strike found only empty ground. The black fire ant was always faster, always sharper, burning with a will far greater than its size. The ground around them became scarred by the venom and the struggle, the forest echoing with the sounds of survival. In its rage, the giant spider became reckless. Its strikes lost their precision, its movements became wild. The black fire ant saw its chance. With a final surge of strength, it climbed higher, scaling the spider's body, reaching for the vulnerable underbelly. The giant spider twisted, shrieking in fury. But the ant dug in deep, its mandibles piercing the flesh that even armor could not protect. The giant spider staggered, its legs faltering, its body trembling with pain. It slammed itself into the ground, rolling and thrashing. But the black fire ant held fast. With each bite, it weakened its opponent further, tearing down the giant one strike at a time. The predator that had ruled the shadows was now shaking under the relentless fire of the ant's courage. The forest seemed to roar in silence as the giant spider collapsed, its legs folding inward, its body beaten and broken. The black fire ant stood upon it, small yet victorious, a symbol of resilience carved into the wilderness. The mighty hunter had been defeated, not by another giant, but by one who refused to accept defeat. The black fire ant stood in silence, its body scarred but unbroken. It did not celebrate, for ants do not sing songs of victory. Survival itself was the only triumph. And in that moment, survival had been claimed. The carcass of the giant spider lay as proof, a reminder that no strength is absolute, no power invincible. The tale of black fire ant versus giant spider is more than a battle. It is a story of willpower against size, of discipline against chaos, of fire against shadow. The black fire ant proved that determination can pierce venom, that courage can outlast fear, and that even the smallest can rise against the largest when the fire within burns bright. The black fire ant walked away from the battlefield, leaving behind the body of the giant spider. The forest slowly returned to life. The birds sang again, the leaves rustled in the wind, and the silence broke into whispers of nature's balance. The world had witnessed something extraordinary, proof that courage changes everything. From that day on, the story spread across the wilderness. Animals remembered in their silence. The wind carried the tale, and the soil whispered it to every root and stone. The day the black fire ant stood against the giant spider, and the giant fell. The black fire ant returned to its colony, carrying not food, not prey, but honor. The colony did not know the details, but instinct carried the message. Their warrior had returned, alive, victorious, glowing with fire. The giant spider's shadow would haunt the forest no more. The giant spider, once a master of its web and its darkness, was now nothing but memory. Its reign had ended not by another predator of equal size, but by one it had underestimated. The lesson was clear, and the forest would never forget. Giraffes may tower, lions may roar, elephants may march, but that day belonged to the ant, the smallest of warriors, who taught the wild that strength is not about height or weight, but about courage. The black fire ant may never know the stories told about its victory, for ants do not think in legends, only in survival. But for us who watch, who tell, who remember, it became a legend, a symbol, a truth to carry. The giant spider's defeat was not just an ending, but a beginning, the beginning of a story that would be told across generations, a reminder to never underestimate the fire of the small. The black fire ant left behind a battlefield that would be remembered long after its steps had faded. The soil itself carried the marks of the struggle, the broken web lay as a monument, and the silence that followed carried the weight of victory. The giant spider had been fierce, but the fire was fiercer. And in the end, fire always burns shadow. The black fire ant is not just an insect. It is a warrior, a survivor, a symbol of defiance. Against giants, it fights. Against darkness, it shines. Against the impossible, it prevails. And so the story closes, with one truth written into the heart of the wilderness. Size matters little when spirit is unbreakable. The black fire ant proved that even the smallest flame can defeat the darkest shadow. The black fire ant versus giant spider will forever remain one of nature's most extraordinary tales. Where fire defeated Fong, where courage conquered fear,